Breaking news, Steelers fans. The black and gold are making headlines after their first preseason clash, and what we saw on the field is turning heads across the NFL. From crisp routes to fearless plays, the Steelers showed flashes of what could be a thrilling season ahead. But the real story lies in the fine details, and today we're breaking down what really happened when the pads went on. Before listening to the latest news, subscribe to the channel, like it, and don't forget to press the bell icon. Let's move on to the new news. One of the first things that jumped out to me on tape was Roman Wilson's performance. My initial reaction right after the game still stands: the kid had himself a day. Very first offensive snap for the Steelers featured him running a crisp, well-timed intermediate route over the middle on play action. The result? A 19-yard pickup, and more importantly, a route win against Jacksonville's starting corner, Tyson Campbell, a guy known for his physical, aggressive coverage. And here's what makes it even more impressive: many have questioned whether Wilson can handle physical contact at the catch point or fight through tight, press coverage. Against one of the NFL's tougher corners, he didn't just survive, he left Campbell trailing. Wilson's route running was sharp, almost surgical. He pushed vertically with confidence, planted hard, and snapped off his break to create clean separation against man coverage. Mason delivered the throw right on target, but it was Wilson's precision that made the play look effortless. Later, he flashed on a quick screen, showing quick feet and balance as he slipped past the first defender and churned out extra yards. This wasn't just a flash in the pan, it was a complete, all-around showing from a receiver who's been building momentum since training camp. We've only seen brief glimpses of him in a Steelers uniform before, but seeing him make meaningful catches in live action felt like the start of something bigger. After a strong week of practice, he capped it off with exactly the kind of preseason performance coaches love to see. Next week, the challenge ramps up. The Steelers will have joint practices with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers before meeting them at Acrisure Stadium. If Wilson can carry this momentum forward, he's got a real chance to cement himself as the number 2 option in this receiving corps. But Wilson wasn't the only bright spot. Watching the first-team offense on tape, one thing was clear: the pass protection was rock solid. From Zach Frazier and Mason McCormick inside to Troy Fautanu and Broderick Jones on the edges, everyone held their ground. Even Spencer Anderson, stepping in at left guard, looked reliable and composed. Mason Rudolph often had more than enough time to throw. On one sack, he held the ball for nearly 8 seconds before going down. Against Jacksonville's starting defensive front, that kind of protection speaks volumes. And let's be clear, this wasn't the Jaguars' backups on the field. Broderick Jones was staring down Josh Allen, one of the league's most respected pass rushers, and held his own through those opening drives. On the other side, Troy Fautanu battled Trayvon Walker. Yes, he drew a flag for illegal hands to the face, but outside of that, his performance was steady and confident. Inside, the pocket was just as secure. Mason McCormick and Zach Frazier anchored the middle with strength, refusing to give ground. Spencer Anderson, stepping in at left guard, blended seamlessly with the unit, showing he could be a legitimate plug-in starter if disaster ever struck. This wasn't just pass protection holding up, it was a statement against a formidable defensive front. Then there's Darnell Washington. Sure, the touchdown catch grabbed headlines, but his blocking might have been even more impressive. Whether sealing the edge or stepping in as a 6th offensive lineman in pass protection, he was flat out moving people. He mirrored exactly what we've seen from him in practice, locking down defenders and giving quarterbacks extra seconds to work. In the red zone, Washington's value becomes even more dangerous. He's that massive target who can slip into the flat-off play action, lower the shoulder, and dare defenders to take him down. Last night's touchdown? Contested, tight coverage, yet he hauled it in with soft hands and total focus. It was the kind of performance that not only confirms his role, but hints at just how big of a weapon he can be this season. As for the run game, there's been plenty of chatter online calling it disappointing. But watching the film, I'm not ready to hit the panic button. The truth is, the Steelers barely ran the ball with their starting unit on the field. Those opening 2 drives leaned heavily on the passing game. Mason Rudolph dropped back 10 times, while Caleb Johnson carried the ball just twice. On one run, the line got pushed back, stalling the play before it could develop. On the other, The big men up front took control, winning at the line of scrimmage. A split result, but it's too small a sample to panic over, especially for a team aiming to build one of the league's more dangerous ground attacks. It's worth noting, a few key pieces of the depth chart were missing: no Ryan McCollum, no Calvin Anderson, which left the backup line thin. That matters when evaluating the run game. As for Caleb Johnson, reactions have been all over the place. Some called his night disappointing, but the tape tells a more balanced story. He flashed power on that nasty stiff arm against Travis Hunter, the kind of physical play that makes you rewind the clip, and fought for tough yards even when the blocking wasn't there. Vision remains a work in progress, and there was one drop on a checkdown from Rudolph that stalled momentum, but his effort was never in question. Look at the numbers closely. Johnson finished with 20 total rushing yards, but 25 of those came after contact. That means he gained more than what was blocked for him, because defenders were meeting him behind the line far too often. It wasn't a highlight reel performance, but it wasn't the disaster some have made it out to be either. Even when the blocking wasn't perfect, Caleb Johnson kept finding ways to salvage plays, at minimum getting back to the line, and often dragging defenders for a couple of extra yards. On short yardage downs, he lowered the shoulder, powered through contact, and moved the chains. That's exactly the kind of hard-nosed running this offense will demand from him. It's worth remembering that only 2 of his carries came behind the full starting offensive line, and one of those was the highlight stiff arm on Travis Hunter, his most physical rep of the night. That's why the panic around him feels misplaced. His performance wasn't flawless, but it was far from a cause for concern. Switching over to defense, rookie Yahya Black was a curious case. Just 10 snaps all night, surprisingly light work compared to other rookies like Derrick, Harmon, and Sawyer, who saw extended action. There's no injury reported, and Mike Tomlin hasn't hinted at one. Whether they're easing him in or holding him back for strategic reasons, we don't yet know. But in those limited reps, Black showed exactly why he's on this roster: stout against the run, relentless in pursuit, and with a motor that never stops. The bigger letdown came from the pass rush. For much of the game, it was a non-factor. Harmon did notch pressure on what would have been an interception until it was wiped out, but overall, he didn't disrupt as much as expected, especially when lined up against Jacksonville's backup linemen. Keanu Benton, projected as a starting defensive tackle, struggled to make his presence felt at all. For a team that prides itself on collapsing the pocket, that's something they'll need to sharpen up fast. Sawyer brought energy and hustle, but when you study the tape, his impact just didn't match the effort. He was active, yes, but never truly disruptive in preseason week 1. Then there's DeMarvin Leal, and this one's hard to ignore. He logged significant snaps, playing most of the game, yet made almost no visible impact. For a player fighting for a roster spot, that's a dangerous place to be. The truth is, if performances like this continue, he could be on the outside looking in when final cuts are made. He has the tools, but the urgency has to show up on the field, and fast. As of now, Sawyer looked more effective than Leal, even without being a standout himself. If Leal can't raise his level in the coming weeks, the practice squad might be his only shot, and even that's no guarantee. Looking ahead, the upcoming joint practices could be the real proving ground of this preseason. Going against a different defense, a new scheme, and fresh competition will test the Steelers in ways a standard training camp can't. For players on the bubble, this is where jobs can be won or lost. And for QB1, it's a chance to sharpen timing and decision-making before the regular season arrives.